Peck bouncing.
I used to be really good at it. Now it's like I used to be able to do it to the beat. You know, Albert was the first one of like me. It was me, my brother, and Albert, and he was the first one to learn how to do it. And I was like, "You suck." But he actually had something on his body, and I had nothing. So it's really hard to flex nothing.
It is hard to flex nothing. Hey guys. Welcome to the Sip It and Rip It OnlyFans, where we teach you how to peck bounce and you give us money for it.
Slide this up. Oh, yeah. There we go.
I'm not going to show mine. I think y'all can probably use your imagination. Although Nathan pulled up that 242 and maybe catching up.
That's that YouTube only content right there.
YouTube
you guys on Spotify need to go to YouTube.
Yeah, you're going to have to find out.
Or maybe we need to upload video to Spotify.
Also, if you want to submit a song to request me peck bounce my OnlyFans to, go ahead. That content's not cheap, though. I know what I'm worth.
Send a DM to the Sip It and Rip It Instagram page, and we'll get back with you.
We'll do peck bouncing videos to your favorite Taylor Swift song.
You know, Desi would never let me like do an OnlyFans, but I think if it was just that, she might be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I feel like, the whole point of that is at that point, you're kind of just making a mockery of the whole.
Yeah.
And if you happen to make money making a mockery of it,
hey, you know.
you're not spreading your butt cheeks apart. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If me and you said we're starting an OnlyFans together,
a joint OnlyFans,
and then posted it on the page, how many people you think would actually pay money?
Austin Blair.
Well, I think Austin Blair would be genuinely like, I'm gonna support my friends more than anything. But also, I was just thinking, like, out of sheer curiosity, how many people would just be like, I want to see what's behind this paywall, and
I'll be honest with you. I think that there's probably a very large demographic of bear hunters that would be very, very interested in seeing that.
That's true, but there would actually be none of that.
We do, well, exactly. But we do feel that specific demographic in the gay community pretty well between the two of us.
I had an interesting experience at work on Friday.
Did somebody come on to you because of your bear?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
So I was going up. I was helping this dude out, and there's two guys working damages, and I go in there, and they basically needed help figuring out how they needed to damage things out. Because I'm in quality, I have to kind of like, they were just asking me questions to get an answer about what they need to do. So bringing back the answer because I had to go to my boss essentially to find out. And the guy I'm talking to was like, okay, great, whatever. And I'm walking away to leave. And this dude comes up to me and he says, hey, I got a question for you. And I was like, no, okay, sure, what? He's like, how do you feel about strip clubs? And I was like, personally, I think they're a little weird. I'm not really into them, but, whatever. And he was like, okay, well, I was going to ask you about OnlyFans, but if you don't like strip clubs, and then walks away.
That's it, huh?
That's it. But I don't know if he was like talking about me stripping and doing an OnlyFans.
It sounds like he was trying to solicit you into watching his old ladies on OnlyFans or something. I feel like it was more solicitation than it was invitation.
I don't know, man. I really, because I was asking my coworkers, I was like, what did this mean? And they were like, I don't know.
I want to say that male strippers are illegal in the state of Alabama.
Really?
They couldn't have been talking about that. I'm relatively certain.
Huh. Are you sure?
I don't know. I've never needed a male stripper, thank God.
Fair. Now I'm Googling this because
I'm going to find out if male strippers are illegal or not. If not, we might have a new side. If they aren't, we might have a new side gig.
Male strippers in Alabama. Book your performer online.
No, my bad. I was wrong. They are legal in Alabama.
Birmingham male strippers. All right. Hire hot Alabama male/female strippers, exotic dancers. Now that is on my Google search for the rest of my life.
Yeah, your federal agent's really confused right now.
Like, wait a minute.
Some things you just got to know. Sometimes you just got to know.
I was just really curious because I swear I had heard somebody talking about stripping in Alabama, but because a friend of mine told me that they had a gay cousin or something that was stripping and making like, I don't know, like a couple grand a weekend. I'm like, damn.
I'm sure that's a lot of money for sure.
Couple grand a week.
I'm pretty sure I don't look good enough, first of all, to do that. And second of all, the clientele I'd be dancing for, I'm pretty sure I would not be comfortable. I'm 100% positive I would not be comfortable with that.
Depends on, how worth it is.
Now, we do
money,
know some people, a pair of brothers that decided to start a risque car washing business.
Really? Oh, I didn't realize that.
And I am pretty sure they shut that down because the demographic that they were after was not the demographic that was buying. I'm pretty sure they thought they were going to get like hot single moms.
No.
And I'm pretty sure they got, single middle-aged men instead, which is really, really, if you know those two people, it's really, really funny to think
really
that because I guarantee you the type of men that they are, I guarantee you they never thought that they were going to have a huge gay demographic buying their services from them. That business did not last very long, I can tell you that much. Either they were really bad at it, or they were really good at it and they really didn't like their demographic.
It could be both. They could have been bad at it and they didn't like their demographic.
It could have been both. I honestly think one's got just a big enough ego that the demographic wouldn't have bothered him.
That's possible. I could see that. But,
I mean, sometimes you just set things up and you can just play yourself sometimes. I'm pretty sure they play themselves.
Yeah, that situation definitely just... I don't know how you couldn't think that that's even a possibility, right?
I guarantee you they just had poon on the brain and thought that this is only going to be, 29 to 45-year-old single moms wanting their car washed by shirtless dudes.
I'm here to tell you right now, they're not interested.
Yeah, that's what they say. It just sets itself up to be a gay fantasy, doesn't it? Yeah. It really does. It's like you just completely you thought this business through and you never came up with the potential that your main demographic could have been other men. That would have been my first worry, but right? That's not where you went with it. I mean, if you were targeting that demographic, more power to you, man. Go make your money. But I know for a fact those two weren't thinking that. I know they thought that they were going to get they were going to get paid for washing somebody's car and then, a little something extra on the side.
Yeah, here's your tip. Yeah, right.
They got some tips, all right.
Not the tips
all the tips and none of the tits is what
Jesus.
Well, think things through before you start small businesses.
I was just going to say, that just kind of goes to show it's a lousy businessman. Yeah. Let's do this.
100%.
But I think that covers our small talk for today.
Just about.
I think we got through that pretty well.
We are drinking some very poorly made attempts at some tequila cherry limeades of mine, or strawberry limeades.
I was about to say they were cherry.
They're strawberry. But it really does. It just tastes like sweet tequila.
Yeah.
Which we're drinking them.
No, I mean, they're fine. I have no problems with them.
A good, homemade, off the cuff. We're just going to have a mixed drink recipe.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would order one if I was out. Maybe if somebody knows better than me. Yeah, cocktails are never cheap, though.
Yeah. If you told me that was going to cost me $3, $4, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine.
I can drink a lot of shit for under $5.
If you're going to tell me that's $10, I'm like, nah.
I can put up with some bullshit for under $5.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Them Applebee's cocktails.
I don't know about that, but I used to drink $1.25 draft PBRs all the time at the pool hall in college.
Yeah.
And then, Philadelphia had the Citywide, where you could get a Pabst Blue Ribbon and a shot of well whiskey for $5 in any bar. Actually, it was $3 when I was up there. I'm sure if it's $10 now, where else are you going to buy 2 drinks for $10?
It's true.
Still pretty fucking cheap.
I guess.
Yeah, that's still pretty fucking cheap. Maybe we need to make a pilgrimage to Philadelphia, my own stomping grounds, and drop in that gym I used to train at. It might be fun to go back in there now that I'm strong-ish.
But would anybody that was there when you were there?
Oh, no, I'll look completely different, too.
Yeah, it'd be like nobody would even know.
No, but it'd be fun to just be there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just to say you showed up.
Just to say I showed up, yeah. It is what it is. You got PR songs?
Sure, yeah. I really hope I didn't say this one already, but The Reckoning by Born Through Fire.
I don't think we talked about that one.
I know I put their other one on there, which was I can't remember.
I'm gonna go ahead and add this now. What I'm so bad about. The Reckoning, Born Through Fire.
Yeah, so it's what's his name? The lead vocalist for As I Lay Dying. It's his like other project. He's got like 1 million, because he's Austrian Death Machine, and that one that they released, one EP. It was really good. I can't remember the name of it. Actually, Clay was telling me about it, and he said to check it out because it was really good. So this is like his like 4th musical project that he's worked on. They only got 2 songs out, so. But yeah, I dig it. It's very much the same like As I Lay Dying, newer stuff. But it's fun. I like it. It's a good like get pumped up about something song.
Yeah, that's cool. My first one's first rap entry in a while, but we're gonna go shout out to my wife because she turned me on this song. I'm gonna go with G's and Hustlers by Snoop Dogg. That's my first one. It's just fun. That's the only thing I got to say.
You know he was at WrestleMania.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I don't watch it, so. Yeah.
So really funny, actually. Really, like, it just goes to show that Snoop Dogg is an amazing entertainer. So he's showing up. He's with one of the traditional wrestlers that's out there, and they're doing like a bit. And Shane McMahon, Shane McMahon. So he comes running to the ring, like coming to beat up Miz for what I don't even remember what the reason was. And does something, lands weird, like hurts his ankle, just like rolls out of the ring, just like he's hurt, he's gone, he's not finishing this. But the whole goal of that whole bit was that the Miz, who was the wrestler guy, he's supposed to get like beat up. Yeah. And Snoop Dogg's like, well, guess what? I'm going to get in this ring and I'm going to beat this wrestler up. So he gets up there. I can't remember if he punches him right in the jaw or something, just like straight up cold cocks him. And he falls down. And The Rock's signature move, the people's elbow. Yeah. So he did the slowest people's elbow I've ever seen. He does this little thing and leans on the rope, and does this little thing and leans on the rope, and then he just drops his elbow. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I feel really bad for Shane McMahon because he just showed up, got hurt instantly, and rolled away. But that just goes to know Snoop Dogg off the cuff, just like, man, I got this. Let's go. I was like, man, that's pretty amazing. I'm
under the impression that his kids are really smart kids and they're athletes and stuff. I'm under the impression that he's a much smarter man than
people give him credit for.
Yeah, than pop culture at large. Because what's Snoop known for?
Weed.
Yeah, exactly. From my childhood, it's earlier than you would have. You were born when? 94? 93. So this was right at, I remember when he was indicted on the murder charges and stuff when I was a kid and everything. But, outside of that, pot and being a gangster. Yep. That's it. But yeah, I think most people think of him now, Martha Stewart, big lottery commercials, like shit like that. Sandy's got his cookbook.
Yeah, I bet that's pretty dope. Honestly.
It's got some pretty funny shit in it. It's definitely stoner food for the most part. Yeah. But I am under the impression he's a much smarter man than I think most of those rappers are much smarter men than they probably let on.
For sure.
Entertainers first, for sure. But you don't get that big and maintain your money and maintain success without being smart.
Right.
You can fuck off money real fucking fast.
Oh yeah, and especially if you're not smart. You just start throwing your money away. I'm going to buy every single.
Look at all these athletes that make more money than most of these musicians, that most of these rappers have ever seen before.
Yep.
And they half of them are fucking broke by the time their career's over. Yep. So like I said, I'm under the impression he's a much smarter man than what we see in pop culture would lead us to believe.
Oh, 100%.
For sure. Yeah. So Snoop, what's your second entry into this?
I didn't have a second entry. I didn't know we were doing 2. You got a second one?
Yeah, I got a second one.
Go for your second one. I'll.
So a band I like was Girlfriended. It's actually her and her husband, Courtney LaPlante from I Wrestled a Bear Once. Do you remember that band from back in the day?
Oh, they sound so familiar.
She has a new band called Spirit Box with her husband.
I've heard of Spirit Box before.
And it's a slower song, but there's a song called Constance that I like a whole lot. It's actually not on any workout playlist right now, but maybe needs to be. But Constance by Spirit Box, really fucking good. She's a good singer. He's a great musician, great guitar player. There's some new metal vibes about it a little bit. But I think that a lot of like metalcore stuff is almost trending new metal a little bit right now. It's kind of popular at the moment. But really fucking good. Not the heaviest song that they have by no means, but it's a really fucking good song. So that's it.
Well, I'll go with a pretty old one actually. Just because I was scrolling through, and I was like, actually, this song's really badass, and I don't think it's on the playlist. But Roots, Bloody Roots by Sepultura.
There you go.
That's something about that. I don't know, man. That song just like it gets violent. Like
that is a very violent song. Definitely,
especially for that time too. Like it was just so angry and like I don't know, man.
I mean, they were ahead of their time. That's the reason why so many people
slept on them.
Well, not just that, but that's the reason why so many metalheads now talk about them being a huge influence for them. It's like Sepultura is like our generation's Black Sabbath.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, most people either talk about Sepultura or Death.
Yeah, Death is really good too for their time.
Mentioned a lot in terms of influences, and then another band like that is Suffocation.
Yeah,
those three bands get mentioned from old heads in metal more than almost anybody does now. Yeah,
my brother's a huge Death fan.
Like, that's good. I was working at Relapse when Relapse picked up the distribution rights to Death and reprinted and re-released all the Death records. So that was pretty cool. So I know their catalog pretty fucking well.
Yeah.
It's just about been pounded into my memory as many times as that shit was spun when I was working at Relapse. So that's cool though. I think I like Suffocation the best out of the three.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think that they're a little bit better musicians than the other two bands, to be honest with you. And some people would probably be upset about that, but I mean, Suffocation was the best out of those three.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's apples to oranges though, because Suffocation still came around just a little bit later than the other two did.
Yeah.
So. And then trying to think about other bands.
Around that era.
Mortuary.
I think I've heard of them.
And Morbid Angel, another one.
I know Morbid Angel. Yeah.
Bands like that. But anyway.
Old man death metal.
Old man death metal. Yeah, some of that shit's good though. I'll tell you what. I mean, there's people around here that would probably their skin would crawl for me mentioning this name, because this is a name. Growing up in the Church of God, I heard. Apparently, they really triggered the fuck out of people in the 90s. But I heard Deicide get brought up when I was going to church and was super religious more than almost any other band.
I guess because of the name, right?
Well, I mean, but they were over the top about it.
Oh, were they?
Did they not start a fight with Living Sacrifice at a music festival one time too?
Oh, I don't know.
Something like
that.
Yeah, they have like a pretty long-standing history of being pretty anti-Christian.
Well,
that's a band that I love now. Deicide fucking rules. But Glenn. Man, even preachers and shit knew him by name. Glenn. Trying to think about Glenn's last name.
Google.
Deicide. Yeah. I know I'm going to be pissed when I see his last name.
Because you're going to be like, oh, I knew that. Because that's how it always is. You just kind of like, it's in your brain, but it's not, you can't.
Glenn Benton. Yeah, Glenn Benton. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that band fucking rules, though. I can't lie to you. Pretty fucking heavy. If you're a Cannibal Corpse fan, you can get behind Deicide pretty easy.
That's fair.
Cannibal Corpse is going to talk more about horror movies and chopping people up, and Deicide obviously a little bit more about satanic things, but very, very stylistically similar.
Right. Do they do like stuff on their like shows? Like,
no, it's pretty much just a death metal show.
Okay.
Like you imagine. No, they're not like Gwar or like even Behemoth. Comes out in full.
Yeah,
like, black metal garb and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not quite like that, but just a death metal show.
I don't know. The theatrics are kind of cool sometimes. Like when I went to see, I think it might have been Knotfest that was in Birmingham. It was actually at the BJCC. It was them, some band I didn't know, and I think it was In This Moment. Some female fronted band, and they were god awful sounding, and they like punctured my ears with how like her vocals just pierced through everything else, and it was obnoxious.
Yeah, that's not a good band, I can't lie to you.
But theatrically, it was fucking cool. Like cool. They had a bunch of stuff going on, and like visually watching it, like if the music had actually been good, it would have been freaking cool. But like music was terrible. So, but theatrically it was cool, and that's why I'm like, I kind of like when bands will actually put in a little more.
I like
upfront.
that newer wave of black metal that doesn't dress up like, you know, they're
Like
part of the
Kiss?
circus. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the corpse paint and stuff's a little much for me.
I think it's fun sometimes.
Well, there's a bunch of Viking shit has made its way into black metal sound. Like Wolfheart really is. Stylistically, that's a black metal band.
Yeah.
Not black metal content, but it's
Right.
stylistically, it's a black metal band.
Yeah.
It's all blast beats and trim, like all the way
Yeah.
through it, right? And that stuff's pretty cool. But Behemoth is the only, and there's other black metal bands I like, but they're the only black metal band I could ever take seriously. And I'm not even sure stylistically that they're really not even death metal. I mean, black metal stylistically anymore. They're really they kind of stand alone a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of do. They've kind of
Early on, they were more death metal oriented, in my opinion. And they like thinking about like Slave Shall Serve and shit like that. Like,
What about Dimmu Borgir?
I'm okay with some older stuff, but there's a band that wears on me a lot.
Really?
Yeah, that one really like.
Oh man.
The best thing about Dimmu Borgir was the Dimmu Burger from Metalocalypse. The name of the restaurant.
Oh man, I forgot about that. That's pretty awesome.
That was the best thing about Dimmu Borgir. I mean, I kind of like all that shit. I can tolerate it if somebody else is listening to it, but I'm not going to seek out many of those like old school black metal bands. I'm not going to seek that shit out.
That's fair.
Just is what it is.
So, Jim, this week we do anything interesting?
Yeah, I hurt my back again. No, I mean, it was a pretty productive week. I did start some occlusion training, mainly just trying to get some extra hypertrophy out of things that I really feel like I can't do heavy right now, honestly, just because of the way I feel. So a little less wear and tear on my body at the same time, still get a lot of productive work done. So started doing that on some arm and leg accessories, and it seems to be productive.
Get a good pump.
Yeah, I about killed my legs yesterday.
Yeah, I can't imagine BFR bands on my legs.
I bought some specifically, like some BFR bands for my legs, specifically for that. And it fucking works. It definitely
I
does.
believe it, because back in the day, like, I think that's one of the reasons why my arms got so big as a small guy, was because I would use BFRs.
A guy that's been training with me a couple times a week, and he listens to the show, Grady Malone, he was like, I always had small arms. The only way I got my arms to grow was BFR cuffs. And I was like, all right, well, we'll try BFR cuffs, because that's a point of weakness for me going to this bodybuilder show.
Right.
I was like, all right, well, I can make that happen. Sure, they're cheap. It's like, for a professional set, it was like $20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With, and that has, a buckle and everything on it. That has like the quick release. You can just pull it and it releases and that kind of shit.
That's kind of dope.
So, I mean, $20.
Worth
Pretty
investing
fucking
in
cheap.
to try.
Doing it once a week on legs, once a week on arms. So it's not all my lifting.
Right.
And then I'm not doing it on any compound movements.
No, I think it's probably dangerous to do them on compound.
It probably is, especially with my legs, given my recent injury history.
Yeah.
Other than that, I did get some more imaging done of my hip to figure out if I'm going to have surgery or not. And then, just trying to get back into things that's a little bit more fulfilling in the gym for me a little bit. So, and we'll get into this later, but, definitely changed my plan up a little bit. Starting something new tomorrow, a new old thing. But just so I can feel strong again. So
yeah, that's fair.
And I'm starting at light enough that the calorie deficit won't matter, because I'm gonna absolutely just destroy that weight regardless of how I feel.
Yeah.
So,
and I definitely know how that feels, because when I was doing that water cut and that cut down to 200, man, all I wanted to do was be strong. Like, I knew I was getting leaner, I knew I was getting weaker, and I knew that was going to happen. But it was like, man, I just can't stand this. Like, mentally, that was the hardest part, is mentally accepting that you're going to get weaker when you lose weight.
Yeah, I mean, I bet there's been a 100-pound swing in my bench press. I really believe I probably could have pressed 405 coming off this last thing, and I bet it would be a struggle right now for me to hit 3 plates. Squat, that's all determined on, depending on the fact that I'm injured right now. We don't know. Haven't been deadlifting, so I don't know. I will say my strict press, my overhead press has continued to progress. That might be more of the fact that I didn't do any overhead pressing in prep.
Right.
And it's the newest thing, so it's moving up the most right now. And then incline, which I'm normally pretty strong at. I normally, can rep 275. I can hit that for like a double maybe the most right now. So definitely have taken a hit.
Yeah.
Definitely. And some of that's coming off drugs and
Yeah.
everything else too, the weight loss. There's a lot of things that go into that. But
Yeah. I think it's the worst when it all happens at once, though, because it literally everything is like, it's not going wrong. It's technically going according to plan, right?
it feels like it's going wrong.
But it feels like it's going wrong because it's just like, man, this should not be heavy. This shouldn't feel this way, but it does. And it's like, man, something's wrong.
It's kind of a kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
It really is. And I am struggling with changing gears a little bit.
Yeah.
So, that's the reason I'm going back to a strength program.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you got time, so you can afford to.
yeah.
And
absolutely.
honestly, you can still lose weight on a strength plan.
Oh, yeah,
There's
absolutely you can.
no reason.
And this
why.
one, like I said, this one's so conservative that it will be months before I feel
challenged by it.
challenged by it, even in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And I bet I could go 12 weeks right now before I challenge. So getting into, that's what we're talking about today. We're changing plans. So what I've done is a very, 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 very beginner program, and Strong Lifts 5x5 has 2 workouts in it. Workout 1, you squat, bench, bent over row. Workout 2, you squat, overhead press, deadlift. And it just simply, it's 3 days a week, and it just simply alternates those workouts. So the first week it's ABA, second week's BAB, and then it alternates that for as long as you want to continue it. So that's what I'm doing for my compounds, and then I'm just sticking to. I actually did end up going with a Tom Platz rep scheme on all my bodybuilding stuff. So I'm doing 5 sets of 12 to 20 reps on all my accessory work that I have limited to. With the exception of one upper body day, I think I've limited it to about 4 movements. One of my goals with this program was to make sure it's effective, but also to trim a lot of fat out of my workout.
Yeah.
I want it to be quick, and I want it to be effective too. So we have more reps, more sets, and less exercises.
Yeah.
So, and then the good thing is, because I'm not going to do just 3 days a week, it's a 5-day-a-week program, but I have 2 like purely
like accessory work
work days, and both of them are on my lower body. So
Yeah.
so that's a good thing probably. So
And just to clarify the topic, we're basically talking about changing our plans and why we are changing our plans, and kind of like when is a good time, what you should do, stuff like that. That's basically what we're going to be talking about today.
yeah, and a good point about this is it's not enough to just be burned out.
Yeah.
That's not a good enough reason to change your plan. Like, that's kind of bullshit. That's bush league, like, for real. That's like big, that's some beginner shit. You shouldn't just change because you're tired of what you're doing, like, especially if it's still working. But for me personally, doing what I was doing, the goal was to leave with a pump every day, but there was no, outside of weight loss, there was no long-term goal strength-wise. So it was really, really important to me to go back to something that had a long-term goal strength-wise. And it's very, very simple for me, and that's just not to be super strong again, not to even be competitive again, but just to be strong again. So I chose Strong Lifts when it starts out terribly light. Even if I would have used my real 1-rep maxes in it, my starting squat weight would have been 225 for a 5x5. I put myself in as an intermediate, and I think it's got me starting 170 for a 5x5 on my squats. So like 145 on bench press and like 110 on bent over rows. So I mean, it's extremely light.
Yeah.
That's way less than 50% of my max. So it's probably 35-40% maximum. So not a real big fucking deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially not for 5 reps.
It's not for 5 reps, no. Those are weights I can go in and do injured. I can go in and do with the flu. I can go in, regardless of my situation, I can handle that. And then what Strong Lifts does, it just pretty much just adds 5 pounds every time you work out. You're going to progress, and the app's smart, so you're going to progress. And when you get to where it feels like you need to deload, it'll deload you and then jump you right back in it the next week. So
is that free?
That's what I'm doing. The app is free. You can pay for the app, and it has basically an entire workout
built for you kind of thing?
They have one built for you, but it also you can build your own workouts in it as well.
Okay.
So, but I just use the free one, which is just the 3 compound movements every day, and that's it. So on deadlift, it's a single set of 5, and I think my starting weight's like my 600-pound puller. My starting weight's like 230.
Yeah, baby weight.
So even coming off of injury, like, listen, if you told me to power clean a set of 5 at 230, like.
Probably.
No, I probably could do it. You know what I mean? So like, it's very, very, very conservative. But the point is, though, it's got an end game. It's got a plan, and it's like that's what I needed. I needed something to fixate my mind on. And if I do it for several weeks, and if I end up where I can press 250 for a 5x5 again and squat 315 for a 5x5 again comfortably and injury free, I would be happier about it than what I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying? So. I'm not doing well. The bench press I probably have right now, to be fair, but probably don't have the squat because of injury at the moment.
Yeah,
so,
it's kind of hard to think about weights like that when you're injured because you just don't really know what's possible until you do it.
Shit, I got hurt by a weight that I had done 1,000 times.
Yep.
So, this is what it is.
Yeah.
No.
So, what made you decide to make the changes? Just the goal? Just having
an end game. Yeah, just having a goal in mind. In my heart, I still want to be a power lifter. If I end up having this hip surgery this year, then maybe we can assess my future in powerlifting after the fact. But I mean, we've seen people come back, like JP Carroll, come back for double labrum surgeries and still squats over 600 pounds. Bench press is what he squats, but still squats over 600 pounds.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's not going to be the end for me, even if I do have the surgery, but it definitely is a big fucking step back.
Yeah.
Because I'm not JP Carroll. I'm not that fucking strong. Yeah. you know what I mean? Like, so, I don't know what it holds, but it might just be bench and deadlift from now on. I don't know, but I know I don't want to quit. So we're just gonna get back on the train and do what we can to make it as good as we can. So.
Yeah. And we were talking about it earlier. I'm also changing my program, mostly due to it's not an injury yet, but my lower back is taking a beating on almost everything that I do now. So every time I squat, I end with just horrible low back pain. Deadlifts, not quite as bad, but there's still some irritation, I don't know. It might just be soreness at that point from the deadlifts. I don't necessarily feel them until I'm done deadlifting. It's just similar with squat, but squat I can feel it compounding.
Yeah.
Even just doing some bent over rows with I think it was 2 plates. I could feel my lower back just getting really tight. So also hips are super tight. I've noticed that. I've tried some stretches, tried doing a lot of different stuff, and they just seem to stay tight. So my goal right now is to stay on the progression plan that I'm on as far as my squat, bench, and deadlift, but I'm going to change literally maybe not literally all of my accessory work, but I'm going to change things to be more centered around my lower back, my hips, and my glutes. Try and, if I can't fix the problem, maybe I can strengthen my lower chain enough to handle the problem.
Yeah, what I was going to say too, and it's been on my mind because I've had 2 minor lower back injuries, but still 2 lower back injuries in 3 weeks. I think one of the biggest things missing that we had access to at any time that we don't have access to anymore is the reverse hopper.
Yeah.
And there's different things to do it, and I have put those things in my programming, so it is what it is. But things that strengthen your spinal erectors and your QLs specifically, I feel like that's what's missing for mine. I feel like my back was stronger when I was doing direct lower back work. Mm-hmm. That's one reason I'm going back. I haven't deadlifted since the meet. That's one reason I'm going back to deadlifting. People are going to think I'm crazy. You've hurt your back twice. Why are you going to go back to deadlifting? Well, I hurt my back twice and I haven't been deadlifting.
Yeah.
So neither one of them came on a squat. First one was very, very minor on an RDL. And, the second time, I honestly think what did it this time, I think it's in a low lat, where it connects near my spine. And, I honestly think it was the hammer strength row because while you're a lot stronger in your back than I am, we just have god-awful strong backs. And, it's pretty easy to single-hand row 3 or 4 plates on that machine. Mm-hmm. So, I think that I got pulled out of position a little bit. And,
that makes sense. You were doing single-handed?
Well, I was doing both hands at the same time, but the machine's unilateral.
Yeah.
They're independent of one another. So, so I just felt a little bit of a, wasn't even really a slip, but just a little bit of a pull and a lat at the bottom of one, as I was going to set it back down. I feel like I almost got a little bit of a turn and just got out of position. So Just gonna have to watch stuff like that, I guess. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I typically do it with both hands to try and eliminate any sort, like, so I can get a full stretch at the bottom, but not necessarily like turn either one which way. I've heard some people saying that they feel like they get a better, pump, better stretch out of it doing that little turn at the bottom and at the top. And I guess it's a natural motion.
It's a fuller range of motion too, technically.
And I guess, I don't know, it just depends on what way
you hear about RP all the time, allowing your back to round at the top of a row in motion and pull it tight. I think my problem is, though, when I get excited, it always happens at the end of a lift. I get excited and go to like lean up and drop them, and then I happen to turn and drop my right hand first, if that makes sense.
I got you.
So I think that's probably, it's not during the movement itself, it's how I'm exiting the movement. But here's the thing too, I know for a fact I get just as good of a pump with one plate and going like to a tempo. So it just may be that when I do that machine, I'm just going to have to do
lighter weight. Typically, I only do a handful of plates, like 2 to 3 plates, maybe 3 and a 25.
I've been working up to 3 for about a set of 8 to 10, depending on how I feel that day.
That's typically about what I work with. I just try and make sure I get a good stretch, and the big key for me, and it's probably just listening to Dr. Mike like all the time, is just that eccentric, just letting it slowly I
get a lot of benefit from a pause at the top of a lat movement too, especially any type of horizontal pull. Don't really do that on bent over rows, but I definitely like that on
like machines
and stuff like that.
I've done it on a barbell if it's light enough. Like if I'm working with just a plate, like I'll row it to the top and I'll pause it for a second and then I'll ease it back down.
I do it on assisted pull-ups a lot, to pause at the top of an assisted pull-up.
I couldn't say whether I like it more or less, but I mean there is a different stimulus.
And I'm pretty religious about doing lightweight on bent over rows. One, I am kind of bad at them, but two, I really feel like I get a better pump if they're really strict and don't have any hip movement in them at all. So I kind of probably torture myself a little bit more than I should on a bent over row. A lot of these like top level powerlifters, when they do bent over rows, I'm not gonna lie to you, they're ugly as fuck. They just sling it. And I understand handling heavier weight helps. I just think that I get a better pump when I slow the movement down. And most of the time on a bent over row in the gym, like most of the time I like pyramid down on those, like 12 to 2. Like go down my 2 reps every set. And then after I've done my 2, I take a little weight off of it and do an AMRAP at like 185. So I'm working up for my top set of 2, I'm working up to like 205 to 225 depending on how I feel. But again, they're really strict. And then I'm dropping down to 185 for like an AMRAP, depending on how I feel the day, of like 8 to 15 reps.
I watch a lot of RP. Like I'm like fully invested. And one of the things that they posted was like, I think it was I can't remember what weight class he was in. It was some pro bodybuilder. He was fairly big. 135 was all he was rowing all day long. Big dude rowing a plate. Got a good pump. Like got to a point of exhaustion. That's the thing about bodybuilding that extremely different from powerlifting is that you don't have to move a lot of weight to get big.
No, you don't necessarily. I do think we both listen. You listen to John Jewett too, don't you? He's typically an anabolic coach. You sent me a video talking about how when people were cutting and they come off, they'll abandon. He was basically talking about how it's a mistake to abandon strength goals during a cut or when you're off gear. He's like, you should continue to pursue strength goals because that's what helps you grow. Like, he's probably got the best in my mind. He's got one of the better opinions about bodybuilding than most people do, to be honest.
Well, and
he's obviously a really strong person, but at the same time too, like. It's fun to do a bodybuilding program and not necessarily have to start your chest day with bench press. You gotta do some pre-exhaustion stuff and stuff like that. So you don't really know. Big dude's rowing 135. You don't know what else he did for his back that day. You know what I mean? Like it might be toward the tail end of a workout. So I mean, like you don't have to have a whole lot of weight to grow, but at the same time, like I do think you probably need to pursue. If you're starting out on dumbbell row, if that's your first movement of the day, last week you rode 55s and this week you probably need to try to row 60s, try to match it. You know what I mean? Like you probably need to give it a little bit extra.
There's that. If you either go up in weight or up in reps, right?
Yeah.
And it's all dependent on your plan, like your goal, everything that.
I think when you start, I talk to training clients all the time about why we do either static ab movement that's like made to allow you to resist rotation, which is the purpose of your core, is to resist being moved. Right, when you stiffen your core, it's supposed to keep you stable. That's the function. The actual function of the core is to stabilize you. Right, so we do a lot of like anti-rotational movements, planks, Pallof presses, stuff like that, and then any bending movements like sit-ups. I don't want you to go back after class and do 3 sets of 100 on sit-ups. You can get somebody to where they can do 100 sit-ups, I guarantee you, in 6 weeks worth of training. That's inefficient at this point. Like, if you're training more than 20 reps, it's probably inefficient. We can weight that movement. You can do cable crunches. Hell, you can weight your sit-up, whatever you want to do. And all of a sudden, we can get the same stimulus from 10 to 12 reps, and you're done in 2 minutes, or
right, you can
sit there and do 3 sets of 100 and fuck off another 15 or 20 minutes of your day. Like I think that there's just a point where I heard a local bodybuilder here who I went to high school with. He's a very talented dude. He told me one time, if you can't get a pump on biceps with a 15-pound dumbbell, then you're not doing something right. Well, that's probably the case, but I mean, at the same time, like, not all of us have 3 hours to work out in the gym, and I don't want to do a set of fucking 50 at 15 when I can go grab 25s and do, 3 sets of 20.
Right.
Like, I don't want to fucking do that. It's inefficient. That's my only argument against like super high rep stuff or super light weight is, at this point, like,
it's like
how much time do you really fucking got? Because like, I cut out 2 hours every day for my workout. Like, 2 hours is a long time to work out.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm telling you, if I can't put it in 2 hours, I don't want to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not because I don't want to be in the gym. I love the gym, but at some point, like, efficiency has to matter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that your dumbbell curls have to be periodized and you have to have a plan to 1 rep max your dumbbell curl one day. But I'm just saying, if you did 30s last week for 3 sets of 15, maybe you should try 35s. Match the reps. If you can't match the reps, drop down to a drop set and clean them up. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I just feel like to some extent it's inefficient. And I don't know, man. One thing is about Ron. Ron took a lot of volume out of my powerlifting training, and I ended up being, stronger than I've ever been before in my life. A big project of mine, personally, lately, has been taking junk volume out of my program. So, like, when I wrote this one to pair with the 5x5 is not including the 5x5. I figure it's going to take 15, 20 minutes to do my 5x5 on my 3 movements. But, like, not including that, I want to be done with my whole workout accessories and all my accessory work in about 45 minutes. So that should leave me, I wanted something that would kill me, but I wouldn't be in the gym for more than an hour on.
Right.
If I got up, warmed up, and did what I was supposed to do, like, quickly and efficiently, like, I want an hour of really, really hard work. Part of that is to keep me from being burned out on it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
because the longer you spend in there, the more time you're in there, like, it's really easy to get burnt out, especially like when you're getting into that real grind part. It's real easy to just feel like I'm not ready. I'm not.
When you start getting stronger, it's real easy to spend half an hour to 45 minutes on just your barbell work.
Even it's
easy to spend an hour.
It's easy to spend 20 minutes warming up.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
very, very easy. So I didn't want inefficient junk volume in my accessory work. Like, if there's things, I picked out things that I knew I wanted to get better at, and I decided I was going to focus on them this time. Next time, I have a lot of dumbbell pressing this time. Next time, if I decide I want to be better at a cable fly, we'll put cable flies in there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to do, my point is, I don't feel like I no longer feel the need that I have to do every chest machine in the room on a chest day.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I can get plenty of work out of bench press, dumbbell bench press, and some type of fly. Let's hit arms and go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where I'm at on it.
Yeah.
So, I'm talking about like 5-6 total movements, including back and arms on my chest day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. For me, typically, I've been doing about anywhere between 7 and 8 movements. That's like that's my goal. Is to, like, I don't want to spend a ton of time. I want to hit like basically 2 movements per muscle group that I'm trying to hit for the day. Sometimes it's 3 if it interacts with my compound movement, but like typically on like my bench press day, I'll do bench press, chest press, and chest fly.
Yeah.
Like that's my chest movements for the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'll have like tricep, bicep, and something else, I think.
Sure.
So that's like, maybe it's just tricep, bicep, because I only do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's my chest day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just try and make it more challenging, and do a lot of like, anything that I've done lately has been either like myo rep matching or drop sets or just something that's going to give me extra volume, basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that's pretty much where I'm at. And in my 5 sets, if I'm just totally fucking whooped by my 4th set, I don't mind making that 5th set a drop set. And, you know, burning it out, doing how many ever I have to do. I feel like I get the best pump when I'm actively moving up every set, though.
yeah,
Until I can't anymore. If I have to drop, I have to drop. But like, I feel like, you know, leg extensions, I did them pretty light the other day. I did them 70 pounds across the board because I had the BFR cuffs on. But ideally, like if I don't have those things on, I'm probably going to start out at 100 or so for 15 or 20. I'm going to move it up. Ours goes in stacks of 15, so I might move it up to 115 or 130 and do 15 to 20, 145. I feel like I get the best pump when I'm finishing on a heavier weight. But I mean, a lot of that depends on the movement in the day too. You know what I mean? So
I've noticed, at least for my back, when I do pull downs, I've been doing drop sets. So I'll do like 1 set of 8 and then drop it down, do another set of 8, and then rest. And like that has absolutely destroyed my last bite. Like I'll be dropping the weight as I go most of the time.
yeah, it does. It feels good. I'll admit it feels good on my lats to hit it really heavy first, right out the gate, and then take weight off.
Yeah.
Another thing though, like I said, on lat stuff, I really like a tempo, and I really like a really controlled movement. I feel like that hits my lats better than anything else I've ever done. Is being mindful of tempo and stuff like that. So anytime you know you're taking more time to do the lift, that means there's going to be weight sacrificed.
Yeah.
On the stack. I mean, the first set I'm generally still good for a heavy weight, but still like. Just is what it is. I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin that cat, to be honest.
Yeah, I personally, I like to be explosive and the concentric form, the function.
Yeah, I actually talked to somebody. I was coaching somebody through that the other day. I do like I do want you to kind of go on a tear when you're pulling that weight. I want you to pull it.
Yeah.
I do want that slow concentric a lot. We were talking about that in bent over rows. I don't want any hip motion, but I want an explosive to your belly button, ease it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're not bodybuilders; we're power athletes. So
that translates better to our sport.
It does translate better. Some explosion translates better to our sport. If it was just about growth for us, yeah, I mean, we'd use 20 pounds and go slow all the time, but that's not the case necessarily for us. So that's what it is.
You know, that just goes back to the whole, you know, your program depends on your goals, depends on like,
for sure.
And I think we've said this a million times, you know, there's a million ways to get to the mountaintop. You just have to figure out what
I'm just happy to be in a season, 1, because I've been injury prone lately, and then 2, because my goals are a little bit different, that I don't necessarily have to have everything heavy all the time. That's the reason I reached out to the, you know, occlusion training and started doing the BFR cuffs, stuff like that. You know, try to keep me healthy and also still get roughly the same amount of work or same amount of hypertrophic value out of it as I would with heavier weight. So, still weird having to frame your mind of we're not training to be strong.
Yeah,
it's a weird shift to make that I've yet to be able to make. So.
I was not able to make it personally, but I also, like, the entire time I was training, like, I tried to have that mindset. And I succeeded in the first few weeks until it got really bad. Like, the more weight I lost, the harder it was to keep it together mentally. Because I was just like, man, I don't feel good. That was my biggest thing. It wasn't really that I felt weak. It was that I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could have been coming off of TRT, like, trying to be completely clean while I was doing this cut. And it was like, man, this sucks. So
it does, man. Man, it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard to make that transition. But I think now, that's one reason I went back to Strongless 5x5, and it is a remedial program. It is a program for beginners. Even if you put in, they're advanced as They do it based off your squat. Their advanced weight is 450 plus. Well, we know as powerlifters, there's nothing advanced about that, about a man squatting 450 pounds. That's intermediate. Lower, probably intermediate levels.
Depending on your weight class, but
I'm a 308, so that's a pretty light weight. So, it is pretty remedial, but just getting to the point that I can train for and have a goal in mind that's not just looking good has been, I think it's going to help my psyche in a way.
And there's a lot of people talk about that, just even in like bodybuilding, like having a goal set, right? Like, and it may just be looking good, but it may be, well, I want my biceps to look like this. So you have that goal of, I need to get to this point. How do I get to this point?
Yeah.
And I think for any athlete in any sport, goal setting is probably like the most important thing you can do to mentally get there. Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Like, you have to have that right mindset of like, I have a goal and I know the steps I need to get there. And if you don't know the steps, but you have the goal, you have to find what the steps are. So, and I think that's valuable in itself, is just like looking for information, because you learn so much and it sticks with you better than, like, let's say someone comes to you and says, I don't mean this in a negative way, but Austin Blair was on, and I think he said it when he was on, and he said, I don't want to know how to get there. I just want someone to show me how to get there, to tell me how to get there, tell me what to do to get there.
He's very athletically minded, though. He wants to just be the athlete.
Yeah. But I just think there is some amount of some amount of value in learning, like, of your own accord, like going out and seeking information. I just think there's something valuable about that, because I feel like it sticks with you better and it makes you more aware of it. Yeah. So when you actually go to, like, let's say a cue on deadlift, it's there.
Yeah.
If you have a coach with you screaming in your ear, obviously it's there. And if he's with you every week screaming at you, your cue, you're going to remember it. I don't know. I just like that value of finding it for yourself.
Yeah, there is a lot of value in that. I'll tell you this, though. The value of having a coach to point out some of those things. Sometimes the answers are so simple, and because we're really stubborn as men, and as strong men especially,
don't want to admit that that's the problem.
Or we just can't see the forest for the trees kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of answers to a lot of my problems have been very, very simple ones that I tried everything but that.
Yeah.
Because because for me, I've made up my mind that I'm too smart for that to have been the problem. Yeah. Like, there has to be a more intricate problem. A lot of times it's not, man. It is what it is.
I feel like that's how it's been for my hips.
Some people are coaches and some people are players, and some people are lucky enough to be both. Austin's an intelligent person, so I'm not saying it's just exclusive to intelligent people. But me and you it's very, very important for me and you for ourselves to understand the why of things. And not everybody cares about that, and that's okay. It's not
It doesn't make you.
Them.
It doesn't even make you less of an athlete.
It doesn't. No, absolutely not. But the why is very, very important to me.
I think it may just be a self-fulfillment thing too, right?
Nobody likes being hurt, and I definitely don't like being hurt. So don't take this the wrong way. But there is a little bit of like dorky value that comes from me being hurt, and that I want to know how and why I can fix it.
Yep.
Every time I get hurt, I learn something new that I can pass down to you or to another client. That's of great value. Of people listening now, that can be of great value to somebody. And albeit I had to learn it the hard way, but these are typically mistakes I never make again.
Yeah.
After the fact. So, I mean, I do think there's a lot of value in understanding the why. And the only thing it's almost as bad as music in a way. You go to music school and you learn music theory and all these like presumed ideologies and stuff like that. And then you get to advanced level stuff like a jazz master class. I had several where they're like, okay, you remember everything you knew from music theory, your first 4 years of music theory. Well, now we're playing jazz and none of that shit matters no more. You've had these rules pounded in your head forever that were never rules to begin with. I almost feel like fitness is like that to a large extent, man, to be honest with you. We talk about it like what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the second.
Yep.
I've had, we're big RP fans. We believe in a really full range of motion on everything. But I know for a fact, I've seen people in the gym that grow from And when they fail a set, they do partials. Partial reps just to pass failure, just so they can get extra hypertrophic value out of it, and it fucking works for people.
Yeah.
But I mean, RP is very science-based. They say, well, you should never do a partial. You should always do a full range of motion. Well, fucking partials work for that guy. Like, why would they work for me? It's just a very individual, it's a very individual thing. That doesn't mean RP is wrong. I know that scientifically, fundamentally, they're correct. But
on an individual
they're not
basis.
they don't necessarily, studies and stuff don't necessarily take on a nuanced explanation of, okay, this guy did 10 full range of motion squats. They're not taking into account that he's already done those, and now he's going to do partials. They're only taking into account most of the time partials versus full. You know what I'm saying? Full reps better. But if you can continue to work past failure because you can do a partial, there's obviously some hypertrophic value in that. You know what I mean?
And it may
everything has to be taken with a grain of salt.
And it may be that the partial is only going to gain value on, that portion of the movement. Yeah. But I mean,
I'll be honest with you, people that have used partials basically use partials the same way you use myo reps. Probably not doing it on a compound. Probably not doing it on squat or bench press. But basically the same way. You know what I mean? So, just what it is. They just may not be resting quite as long. Myo reps, you're resting, 20 to 30 seconds?
Until the pump goes away, pretty much. Or not the pump, but until the soreness goes away, or that stinging feeling. You know what I mean.
Yeah, so you may be talking about 15 seconds, but with the partials, we're talking about immediately just partial range of motion. So it is what it is. But I mean, there's, like I said, the more I'm in it, the more I feel like there's it just depends on the person, man. Every bit of it does. Some things work, some things don't. But those some things that don't might work for somebody else. And this is what it is. And as a coach, it's especially being, I value my education in it and how much I learn and how much I try to learn and how much continuing ed and everything I do, only to be continuously surprised by how much more correct the practical side of things is than the clinical side of things.
Right. Well, I mean,
you really, really, from an education standpoint, you really want it to be a clinical answer.
Right.
You want it to be the full range of motion is better. And it is. Until you can no longer do the full range of motion.
Right.
And then doing something is better than doing nothing. So you want it to be the clinical answer. And honestly, from a practical standpoint, it rarely ever is. That's the truth. So
that's fair.
I mean, just is what it is, man. So it's a very, very individual thing.
So, talking about why we change our programs, what reasonings would you give for somebody to change their program? What's a good reason? An example of
a lack of success on the on the current program. And they say that the best program is the program you stick to. So you can't count that to daily success. You need to be constantly logging your workouts. I use SetGraph. It's an app that I use to log my workouts. I can look back in it and it charts everything out for me, and I can tell if my projected 1 rep max is going up or not. If my projected 1 rep max is not going up, that means I'm not progressing. Period. But I want to see that. I have the ability to look at it from a 1 week perspective, a 2 week perspective, a 6 week, a 1 month. You probably, or a 1 month and a 6 week, whatever it may be, and then a 3 month. If you look back and, probably the 3 months is what you should be using. If you have not made progress in 3 months, probably a good time to shut it down and move to something else. That's as if you're a powerlifter, right? You're not seeing actual progress toward your 1 rep max goals. And let me tell you something too. Me and you know this, and a lot of beginner people listening may not. A lot of the times when you're in a hypertrophy block, what you're doing does not necessarily reflect your actual 1 rep max.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times where me and you have had a set of 8 on something, and it'd be absolutely the most amount of weight we could do, and it projects us out at 50 pounds less than our current 1 rep max. So you have to keep in perspective. We'll talk about strength goals, it's not necessarily related to your 1 rep max. Is your 8 rep max better than it was 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
If you can look on it and see, look on an app like SetGraph, like I use, and see visibly that, okay, I'm doing the same amount of reps, but I'm 20 pounds ahead of where I was 6 to 8 weeks ago. That's probably a good determination that you're going the right direction. If you look at it and it has not progressed, or if it's gone down, probably a good time to change.
Yeah.
Fatigue is part of that, like physically not wanting to do it anymore. That's not the best excuse to do it, to change. That's something that absolutely has to be justified by data. You have to be able to justify it and, like I said, go back and see that you've not made progress. But most of us, some fatigue can be real, especially when you spend, like I spent the last half of last year training for a powerlifting meet, the first couple months of this one. It sucks to be under that heavy weight for 6 months. It does. You were ready for something different. As goal-oriented as we are, stuff like that, it's good to take a break. Sometimes it's just good to take a break. That being said, though, the biggest answer is I'm not progressing anymore. That should be really the only reason you ever change a program.
Well, I mean, like, other than, like, blocks, right? Cause
block to block, it should be changing, but even these, like, remedial apps and stuff that I use, they're going to change block to block. You know what I mean? So, if you use something like Hatch Squat is something I've used in the past that I really like a lot. It's a little aggressive once you start getting strong. As a beginner, it's a really good program. Strong Lifts 5x5, you can use, like, Mad Cow or something like that. Windler 531, although I would argue that's probably the worst one. Starting Strength. All those things, like, very, very remedial programs, but I mean, they still, change block to block and everything like that. I would look at my program as a whole and try to determine it. So most of the time, I don't know about you, but I typically a whole powerlifting block, a whole powerlifting season, I generally schedule in 13 weeks. So the rest of the year we've done off-season stuff, hypertrophy work, maybe more toward that powerlifting block. We've gotten more sport specific in that we're doing less incline and front squats and Dimmel deadlifts and like variations. Maybe we've geared a little bit more toward the competition lifts, but I typically do a 13-week block. I mean, if you don't progress in 13 weeks, then you definitely need to fucking change something. But you shouldn't just jump ship because your attitude's bad and you don't like what you're fucking doing or anything like that. That's first of all, it's a weak thing to do. Second of all, we are stuck in a society that wants everything here and now, and you have to realize that strength is not a here and now game.
Definitely not.
All the drugs, all the food in the world are not going to make you strong tomorrow.
Yep. This is the marathon.
You really, really have to do, if you want to be strong, you really have to do today what other people are unwilling to do. And you have to do it day in and day out until you meet that goal. And honestly, a lot of the times it comes down to doing things you don't want to do day in and day out.
Yeah.
So changing your programs is not going to fucking help that. You're going to find something in that new program you fucking hate too.
Yeah. More than likely.
Period.
Yeah.
Now, you can tailor it to your skill set as much as you want to. You can pander to yourself and make yourself feel like, oh, these are the things I'm good at, and I'm going to do that kind of stuff, and that's fine. You're going to run into something you fucking hate inevitably anyway. There's going to be some, if you're actually working hard and giving it 100%, it doesn't matter how much you tailor it to yourself, it's still going to fucking suck and you're still going to want to quit.
And even if you do tailor it to yourself and to your strengths, if you don't work on your weaknesses, you're probably going to break.
You are.
Like,
things break.
We've talked about that a million times.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
if you don't address your weaknesses, and that's one of the points I was going to get to is that, if this is why I'm changing my programs, because I found a weakness.
I found potentially a glaring one.
Yeah. So it's like there's obviously something super wrong with my lower back strength or my hips being too tight or whatever. So I'm addressing that now before I get into my powerlifting block, which I think I'm doing 12 weeks instead of 13. But I think I have it planned 3 months out. But
I typically do. That's basically what I do mine. But the 13th week is basically your
the week
week or retest week, whichever one you're doing. Yep.
Yeah, I think it might end up being something similar to that. But either way, but that's why I'm changing my program, is to address a weakness, to fix a problem that could potentially be really bad if I don't address it. So I think that's a big one for me. Obviously, like you said, if you're not progressing, you obviously want to change something. You want to make sure that you're progressing. So if you're doing the same old thing over and over and over again and nothing changes, that's the definition of insanity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I think the biggest drivers with that is typically what I see people want to change all the time because they're not seeing progress is a lack of volume, not a lack of exercise selection. Like I said, you don't have to. Like I said at the beginning, you don't have to have 15 exercises a day. A lack of volume typically is a problem when you're not growing. You probably need more. You probably don't need less. A lack of volume and a bad attitude, top two things. And then what you're doing away from the weight room, eat and sleep, contribute heavily, and also a bad attitude contributes to those things.
Yeah.
There's only look at that. There's only one legitimate reason to ever change, and that's probably physically I've not made any I haven't made any changes. I'm not stronger. I'm not sure I'm even gotten better. I may have even got a little worse. I feel like most of the time that comes from a lack of volume, and they're generally in larger answer.
So what you're telling me is when I go into the gym,
Or frequency, one or the other.
I shouldn't do 15 exercises for one set.
Or 15 exercises for 3. I think that you're much better off doing 5 exercises for 4 to 6 sets. Maybe for a few more reps.
Yeah.
As powerlifters, I realize we don't like squatting sets of 10. We don't like deadlifting sets of 10 or pressing sets of 10. That's fine. You can make up a lot of conjugates proof. You can make up for a lot of that in your accessory work. If you want to squat sets of 3 the rest of your life, that's fine. But you need to be busting ass
on your hack squat, on your leg extensions,
leg press, shit like that. You can make progress squatting, 3 reps or less all the time. That's fine. But your total volume has to be at challenging weight and a challenging number. Period. Like I said, I think 5 or 6 exercises a day is fine.
Yeah.
But frequency is another big one. I can't believe this, and I'm not going to mention this coach's name. One of my people left that coach to be with me, and that particular athlete was on a one-time, as a beginner, at the time she was a beginner, was on a one-time-a-week frequency for every major lift.
Yep. That's kind of insane, right? Like,
that's fine for, you're on 1.5 now, and you total 1,700 pounds. So
we'll total
700
pounds.
You're just now getting to the point that volume, that amount of frequency is enough for you.
Yeah. No, why
a beginner would ever only be doing these things once a week? I mean, this is a skill that you're building, first of all. You're building a skill. People fucking up their frequency is one of the biggest reasons to change, to maybe even hire a coach or to get out of it in general. Me personally, I know now that the only thing my body can handle is about a 1 time a week deadlift frequency. 1.5 if you really, because I have an RDL. Squat, I recover really well from 2 times a week squatting. I do not recover very well from more than about 1.5 to 2 frequency on bench press.
Yeah.
But all those things, I'm doing all those things more than once a week still.
Yep.
Most of the time, mine's a flat bench and an incline.
Yeah.
Squats, most of the time, it's real 1.5 frequency too. It's generally a back squat and then a front squat or a high bar or an SSB or a Paul's back squat. So it's not a true competitive frequency either. But like every program I've ever gotten strong on, any of my clients have ever gotten strong on, generally, especially if they're a beginner, came to a 2 to 3 time a week frequency.
Yep. I remember first starting and doing 2 to 3 bench press a week, 2 deadlift, 2 squat.
Yeah.
Like that's what I started with.
Yeah.
Like when the weight was super light, well, I mean, for me now light, but at the time it was probably moderately challenging or whatever. But yeah, like 3 sets of 10 on deadlift twice a week. Same thing with squat, 3 to 4 for 10.
Well, one of my roots is Shako, right? And it's basically chest, arms, and legs. Day 1, day 2 is shoulders and back. Day 3 is chest, arms, and legs. Day 4 is shoulders and back. So you're basically squatting and benching, deadlifting and overhead pressing, squatting and benching, deadlifting and overhead pressing. And it fucking works.
Yeah.
But you're building, at that point, we know what we're doing now, so we don't have to have skill development as much necessarily. But when you're in the beginning, if you're a man and you total sub 1,300 pounds, you probably need a higher frequency.
Yeah.
Unless you're just a really big boy and just can't handle that much frequency. If you're a beginner, you probably need a 2 time a week frequency at a minimum.
And not to hurt any feelings or anything, but if you're a big boy and you can't handle that amount at that time, like as a beginner, you probably just need to lose some weight first.
There's a good chance that that's a work capacity issue at that point.
You need to just focus on getting your work capacity up.
Yeah, and keep in mind your accessory movement's changing every day, so it's not like it's not like every day you're going in there you're going to squat and bench press, and then you're going to go do a heavy dumbbell press and a heavy leg press. Your accessory work doesn't look the same every day. But yeah, true 2 time a week frequency has been the best thing for anybody intermediate and down that I've ever done. When you start getting as strong as me and you are, it becomes a little bit more intricate. I have to undulate. This is something I learned from, I actually have been reading about it before Ron started programming for me. I can really only handle about 2 heavy deadlift days a month.
Yeah.
Everything else needs to be between 300 and 400 pounds and basically just needs me practicing the movement. But I still had a 1 to 1.5 frequency a week.
Yeah.
It's just that I only had 2 heavy days. Squat, I'm the opposite. I need to touch heavyweight, and I need to touch heavyweight often. It just is what it is. Bench press, same way. Got to touch heavyweight, got to touch heavyweight often. Just is what it is. But I mean, that's so individual. Juggernaut has a really good idea of how to chart out your MEV and MRV, which is minimum effective volume and max recoverable volume. And that's something I would consider significantly if I was programming for myself. I'd watch that video. But I mean, here we are. If you include my CrossFit background, I'm probably 12 years into training, and I'm just now getting to the point where I don't have to have things twice a week. I definitely still have to have squats twice a week. But I'm just now getting to the point that I don't have to have deadlift or bench press twice a week. So you have a younger training age than me, but you're a more advanced lifter, so you've hit that peak a little bit quicker. But you're still at 1.5 across the board.
Yeah, I'm still doing like a movement and a variation movement.
Yeah. So what we're explaining is actual competitive movement counts as a 1-day frequency. A variation takes a half day of frequency. So,
and that's really
if I say a 2-day-a-week frequency, that could be 2 days of pure back squat, or it could be 1 day of pure back squat, a front squat, and an overhead squat. It could be any squat variation to build that too. Makes sense. But any variation is only going to count as half
frequency.
Half frequency. Yeah, absolutely. It could be hack squat like he's doing. I don't count leg press toward my squat volume. That's just something I do. Although, depending on the level of athlete, you might should. Depending on how good you are at them. So that's what we're talking about. So frequency only counts if it's the whole if it's the real competition movement, and then any variation outside of that. So for a strongman, it might be a strict barbell overhead press, and then your variation may be a log push press or a Viking press or something like that. But by and large, we're talking about how often we're doing the 3 major movements.
Yeah. Because we are powerlifters.
We are powerlifters
at the end of the day,
absolutely.
Not bodybuilders, as you can tell. Do not bodybuild here.
I'm supposed to be now. I need to hovering between 25 and 30 pounds of weight loss, and I have hit my first plateau officially.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What are you sitting at right now?
Anywhere from 269 to about 274, depending on the day. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a little bit to go, but you still got 6 months.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So.
Got plenty of time.
About to kick it in overdrive because we got a beach trip coming. But
yeah, that's true.
I'd
we do.
Another 20 down before the beach trip gets here, so we'll see. But
that's pretty soon, though, isn't it?
The 20th to the 23rd of May, right?
It's a month.
Yeah, it's a month. Looking forward to it. 20
pounds in a month?
I mean, I lost 30, nearly that much in that much time. So
that's true.
That's true. So I lost 30 in 6 weeks. So anyway, dad jokes.
I think we're on dad jokes.
We're on dad jokes. I'm going to have to look them up because I don't know any.
Let's see. Well, we always plug Dad Says Jokes. Follow them. They're great. This is an older one, and that's also a pun in itself. I asked an old man I know, even after 95 years, you still call your wife darling, honey, and love. What's the secret? The old man says, I forgot her name 10 years ago, and I'm afraid to ask.
That was pretty good. Getting old sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, man.
Why did the biology teacher break up with the physics teacher?
Oh, no.
There was no chemistry.
Oh, man. That's great. Here we go. I'm trying to find one.
You're not finding any that resonate with your soul today?
Not really.
Oh, man. I'll give you another one. I saw a man going up a hill with a trolley full of horseshoes, four-leaf clovers, and rabbit feet. I thought, wow, he's pushing his luck.
That's pretty good. I've started investing in... Oh, shit. Smoke you another. I've started investing in stocks, beef, chicken, vegetable. Mm-hmm. One day I hope to become a billionaire.
That's pretty good.
My friend claims to be a compulsive liar. I don't believe him.
That's pretty good. Oh, man.
You know what the German word for bra is?
Mm-mm.
Stop him from flopping.
Oh, man.
You know, not everyone thought that Cleopatra was beautiful.
You know, you said that one before. 100%.
But that's how Julius Caesar. Have I seen that? Have I said that one before?
Yeah.
Don't mind the early onset dementia, folks. I used to headbutt a lot of things as a child.
You know, the head banging doesn't help either.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Unless you have a neck like Corpse Grinder. Then you just...
I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows on too high. She looked surprised.
That's pretty.
Oh, that's all I got.
Oh, man. We'll end it on that. Thank you guys for listening. If we didn't say it already, follow the podcast. 5 stars on Spotify, please.
Look out for that peck bouncing OnlyFans.
Yeah. Soon.
We're going to approve it with the ladies sometime today, tonight, tomorrow, something. It may take a week to convince. We'll find out.
I guess, like, I don't know, man. Are we going to oil up? Like, are we just going to be like...
I probably need to shave my chest before I oil up, to be fair.
I'm so hairy,
I'm pretty fucking fuzzy right now, dude.
Like, maybe that's what they want.
A lot of hamburger.
Maybe that's what they want, man. Maybe they want some hairy beef.
I want to know what songs you would like to see me and Nathan peck bounce to.
Send us a DM or leave us a comment and let us know. We'll
Heavy songs are going to be tough. It's hard to do it fast.
Yeah.
We're going with a bass drum.
Like, man, I'm so out of practice. Like,
we'll work on it.
Yeah, I'll have to practice. We'll I don't know. If we can get some cash up front, maybe we'll start practicing, right?
How much is this worth to you?
Let us know. How much is this worth to you?
The peck popping.
Is it worth tens of dollars?
Tens and tens of dollars.
Tens and tens of dollars. That's 20s of dollars.
It could be at least 20s of dollars, according to that logic. But it'd have to be 2 or more, so. Right. Oh, we're done. Good night.